Let me tell you about a man I met in Atlanta. Call him Marcus. Marcus had a steady job in logistics, decent pay, weekends off, and a family that expected safety. But Marcus had an idea. An app to connect local service workers to short gigs in neighborhoods. He sketched it on napkins. He talked about it at the dinner table, and his wife said, "Promise me you won't blow our cushion." So fear came dressed as responsibility. Marcus waited. He waited until 2 promotions later, when life felt heavy and his idea still lived on napkins. One day the company he worked for restructured. Marcus lost his job. Now he had 2 choices: blame the market or build. He chose to build. He borrowed from a cousin, coded late nights while the kids slept, pitched at every small meetup, and failed a lot. Bugs, investor rejections, embarrassing demo days. But he learned faster each time. 5 years later, his platform is used in 5 cities, and he's hiring the same people who told him to be practical. What stopped Marcus? Nothing. What almost stopped him? Fear and a story about being responsible. But he learned that responsible sometimes looks like risk when it's for purpose. That's American grit, rebuild, retray. Rise failure is the tuition you pay for the degree called success, and once you learn to see it that way, your whole approach changes. Think about school. Nobody graduates without lessons, tests, and sometimes a bad grade that forces you to study harder. Life works the same. If you want the diploma of achievement, you've got to be willing to attend the classroom of mistakes. Failure isn't a verdict on your identity. It's a receipt that proves you invested, you tried, and you learned something real. The smart person treats each setback like a teacher. Take notes, adjust, and show up the next day with a better plan. When the mobile app crashes, that crash teaches the coder what edge case to fix. When a speech tanks, that silence teaches the speaker what to edit and which stories actually land. The difference between people who stop and people who finish isn't that one group never loses. It's that one group refuses to be defined by the loss. They catalog their wounds and turn them into wisdom. Practically, this means failing forward. Don't chase perfection, chase progress. Run small experiments, test one idea, measure what happens, and then refine. That's how cheap failures become affordable tuition instead of bankrupting disasters. Keep a ledger of lessons, what went wrong, why, and what you'll do differently next time. Over time, that ledger becomes your curriculum, and you'll be amazed how your setbacks organize into a roadmap. Another truth is that failure builds credibility. When you tell a room you fell and got back up, people don't pity you. They listen. Your scar is a form of permission you can give to others. It says, "I did it, and so can you." So fail in public with dignity. Own it, laugh about it when appropriate, but extract the lesson and move. Surround yourself with people who will be honest in the dark seasons. You don't need cheerleaders who clap for comfort. You need critics who point out blind spots, mentors who have lived through similar flops, and partners who will roll up sleeves with you. Finally, balance courage with strategy. Failing isn't an excuse for recklessness, it's a reason to iterate intelligently. Save a runway so each try doesn't become a crisis. Learn to fail cheap prototypes, pilots, and minimum viable products let you test markets without signing your life away. Celebrate micro wins. Those small recoveries are proof your tuition is being well spent. Most of all, keep perspective. Every success story you admire is paved with unseen stumbles. The person on stage learned how to speak by bombing in front of 3 people, then 30, then hundreds. The founder on the cover had launches that flopped before one finally scaled. Your current failure is not the headline of your life. It's a paragraph in the chapter that teaches you how to finish strong. Pay the tuition, take the lesson, and keep moving. Success doesn't skip those who learn, only those who quit do. Fear in America is often magnified because the culture here celebrates big dreams, bold moves, and fast results. That pressure can make people freeze before they even begin, worrying about how they'll be judged if they don't measure up. But the truth is, fear is just a signal. It's the brain's way of saying you're stepping into new territory. And new territory is exactly where growth lies. The people who thrive aren't the ones who never feel afraid. They're the ones who move forward while their knees are still shaking. Fear has a voice that says, what if you lose? What if people laugh? What if you're not enough? What the antidote isn't silence, it's action. Every small step you take weakens fear's grip because fear feeds on inactivity. When you start, even clumsily, you prove to yourself that the worst case scenario didn't kill you. You stumble, but you're still breathing, still learning. That realization breaks fear's illusion of control. In America, fear often disguises itself as logic. People will tell you to be realistic, which really means be safe, be small. But if every immigrant, every dreamer, every innovator had played it safe, there wouldn't be skyscrapers in New York, startups in Silicon Valley, or civil rights victories carved into history. Progress has always been written by people who looked fear in the eye and said, you don't get the last word. Courage doesn't mean ignoring fear. It means letting your purpose speak louder than your doubt. Think about athletes stepping into the arena, comedians facing a cold audience, or entrepreneurs walking into their first pitch meeting. Fear is always in the room, but so is opportunity. The ones who win are those who refuse to let fear sit in the driver's seat. Practically, this means training yourself to act quicker than fear can talk you out of it. Make the call before you rehearse every rejection in your head. Apply for the job before you convince yourself you're underqualified. Launch the idea before you spend a year trying to make it perfect. Fear wants to delay you because delay is how dreams die quietly. When you strike while the iron is hot, you don't give fear time to grow. Another key is reframing fear as excitement. Physiologically, your body reacts to fear and excitement in almost the same way. Sweaty palms, racing heart, nervous energy. The only difference is the story you attach. Tell yourself you're scared, and it paralyzes you. Tell yourself you're excited, and it energizes you. That simple reframe can turn fear into fuel. Most importantly, realize that the presence of fear means you're aiming at something significant. Nobody feels fear when they're stuck in comfort. Fear shows up as proof that you're chasing something larger than yourself. So instead of running from it, learn to thank it. Say, if I'm scared, it means this matters. If it matters, then it's worth the fight. And every time you act in spite of that fear, you shrink its power and grow your own. Over time, fear becomes less of a wall and more of a doorway, a sign that you're walking the right path. Do you want me to continue with Keynote 3 in the same expanded Steve Harvey style? America rewards the ones who step into the arena while everyone else is clapping from the sidelines. That doesn't mean reckless bravado. It means calculated courage. Risk takers aren't careless. They're willing to trade temporary comfort for long-term possibility. Look around American history. Every leap forward came from somebody who chose uncertainty over safety, who bet on an idea while the crowd bet on the status quo. That's not luck, it's a posture. It's the posture of people who show up when opportunity requires a little craziness and a lot of grind. Risk in this sense is a muscle you build. You don't start with a 500-pound lift, you start with tiny plates and consistent reps. The same goes for taking calculated risks, test small, learn fast, and scale what works. Entrepreneurs launch minimum viable products. Artists drop a song on SoundCloud. Movers send one email that turns into 10 meetings. Each small risk compounds into momentum. Another truth is that America's system rewards visible action. Investors, partners, and customers are drawn to momentum. People who do, not just talk. So being brave in private isn't enough. You've got to brave in public. Put your work where eyes can find it, even if it's not perfect. Perfection is a procrastination tool that kills progress. The risk taker understands that done is better than perfect because done lets you learn from reality. Take examples of people who looked irresponsible to others but strategic to themselves. The person who left a steady job to build a side hustle after saving 3 months runway and practicing nights. The immigrant who worked 3 gigs to fund a small business. The student who chose an unpaid internship for the network rather than a comfortable paycheck. These moves look risky on paper, but they're intentional risk backed by discipline, preparation, and contingency plans. That's the version of risk America rewards. Also know this: when you take risks, you'll meet failure. Expect it. But the people who win here don't treat failure as a tombstone. They treat it as data. They ask what worked, what didn't, and how to pivot. That feedback loop is the advantage of risk taking. The more experiments you run, the more patterns you can exploit, and the more doors you can open. Risk also teaches speed. In a fast, moving market, indecision is the real enemy. Waiting for perfect conditions is waiting for someone else to pass you by. The world respects speed plus accuracy, not paralysis. So set deadlines for decisions, test quickly, and commit to actionable next steps. Finally, surround yourself with people who push you to take smart risks. Your circle should include someone who calls out your blind spots, someone who celebrates progress, and someone who models courageous action. If your friends are allergic to discomfort, they'll baptize you in doubt. Choose companions who are builders. Practical habits. Reserve a small percentage of your time or savings for high variance bets. Try one new thing each month. Document outcomes. And build a runway that lets failure be teachable, not catastrophic. Speak aloud what you're willing to risk and why. Clarity sharpens courage. Remember, America doesn't hand out medals for comfort. It applauds resilience, hustle, and the nerve to try. Your chance to win grows every time you act with intention, even if the world calls you foolish at first. Be the kind of person who risks for purpose, learns from the fall, and keeps moving. That's how winners are made. Fear is a liar dressed in disguise, and if you don't learn to confront it, it will rob you blind. In America, fear has become the silent killer of dreams. People have billion-dollar ideas sitting in their notebooks, voices that could inspire millions, skills that could change industries, but fear convinces them to stay quiet, stay small, and stay hidden. The truth is, fear doesn't disappear. You don't outgrow it. You outface it. Every new level you reach will come with a fresh wave of fear. The difference between the person who wins and the one who watches is how they respond when fear knocks on the door. Fear whispers, "What if you fail?" But the champion answers, "What if I succeed?" Fear says, "You don't belong in that room." But faith replies, "I've worked too hard not to be here." Every breakthrough in this country, every innovator, every entertainer, every entrepreneur, they had to silence that inner voice of fear long enough to step on stage, pitch an idea, or knock on a door. If you let fear sit in the driver's seat, you'll never go anywhere worth going. Here's the thing: fear is often a compass. If something scares you, chances are it matters deeply to you. That fear means you're pushing into uncharted territory, which is exactly where growth happens. The people you admire aren't fearless. They just learned how to walk with fear instead of letting it paralyze them. You can be nervous and still perform. You can be unsure and still begin. You can feel terrified and still take the next step. In America, opportunities rarely announce themselves twice. You either seize them scared, or you watch someone else grab them while you hesitate. The difference between fear controlling you and you controlling fear comes down to action. Action is the antidote. Every time you move forward while your knees are shaking, fear loses its power. And with repetition, that scary step becomes your new normal. So, when fear rises up before the job interview, before the audition, before the business pitch, don't pray for it to vanish. Pray for the courage to move anyway. Don't wait to stop being afraid. Decide to be brave. Fear will always be there, but courage is choosing to go forward in spite of it. And when you conquer fear once, you build a record of victories. That record becomes faith, and that faith carries you to places fear can't reach. In the end, the dream belongs not to the fearless, but to the faithful. Fear may shout, but it doesn't have the final word unless you let it. The final word belongs to the one who dares to move. Don't let fear of failing stop you from winning in America, because the only way fear truly wins is if you quit. Do you want me to also expand the fifth keynote in the same 500-word Steve Harvey style? Rejection stings like a slap, but it doesn't define your finish line. It reroutes you towards something better if you let it. When someone says no, when an opportunity evaporates, when a relationship ends, the first thing your heart wants to do is fold up and hide. Don't. Rejection isn't the enemy, it's a messenger. It tells you that this particular door wasn't built for your feet, or that the timing wasn't right, or sometimes that you needed to grow more before carrying the weight of what you were asking for. Think about the people you admire. Most of them have resignation letters, closed doors, and try again stories in their past. Those setbacks didn't stop them, they sharpened them. The trick is to read rejection like data, not destiny. Ask what it's teaching you. Was your skill set thin in one area? Did your pitch miss the point? Did you show up with nerves instead of clarity? Extract the lesson, apply it fast, and move on with better aim. Rejection also creates space. When a hand closes, another one can open, sometimes into a room far bigger and kinder than the one you mourned. I've seen people lose jobs that felt like endings and later find careers that fit them like a glove. I've seen relationships end and later witness the person meet someone who honored their worth in ways the first person never could. That's not fairy tale, that's pattern. Another thing rejection inoculates you. Every no you survive builds a thicker skin and a calmer heart. You begin to measure yourself by progress, not by applause. You learn to value the inner scoreboard, consistency, integrity, craft, over the noisy external one. And with that inner scoreboard, you carry steadiness into the next room. Don't let rejection make you small. Use it to get specific. Make a revision plan, one skill to improve, one person to ask for honest feedback, one small experiment to try within 30 days. Action turns grief into growth. Finally, resist the lure of bitterness and blame. Those emotions feel justified for a minute, but they take your power. Instead, practice gratitude for the redirection. Thank whoever closed the door, because they may have kept you from a worse story. Keep faith alive in your efforts. Sometimes the no is simply a buffering period while something better gets arranged. And when the next door opens, walk through without clutching the past. Let the lessons ride with you, not the hurts. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's the middle chapter that gives your comeback weight, authority, and compassion. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it prepare you to receive what's truly yours. So listen. Fear will try to rent space in your head, but you don't have to give it a lease. The map that leads to your victory is written in the language of trying, falling, learning, and getting up again. America rewards the brave who treat failure like tuition and keep their hands on the work. Stop rehearsing reasons to stay small and start rehearsing the life you want to build. Take one brave step today. Send the email, make the pitch, sign up, audition, apply, and do it scared if you must. Build your runway, test fast, surround yourself with truth tellers, and treat every no like a redirection, not a tombstone. When you fall, fail forward. When you're afraid, move anyway. When they doubt you, let your comeback be louder than their criticism. Your destiny isn't won by perfection. It's won by persistence. So get up, get after it, and don't let the fear of failing rob you of the win that's already knocking. Now go out and claim your lane. Win your way.